In 2022, I hope that people learned from the 3 years that we were in COVID. People need people to survive.
The pandemic has really impacted the prison system and has really brought to light a lot of the things that were already so wrong with how health is accessed within the system.
It is time to show the faces and hear the stories of older Black women artists who have struggled, who have fought, and who have survived some of the issues that we see today. It's like we've fought them before.
Our project involves 6 incredible artists, 3 of whom are Indigenous artists and 3 of whom are coming from newcomer refugee backgrounds. This work that asks them important questions around placemaking, around culture, around history, around Etobicoke, around Toronto.
So the way that we've designed the program, it's specifically about the Black Creek and about the history of the Black Creek. And it is a guided walking tour. We have several different guides, but we also wanted to make sure that there were activities involved. So we wanted people to be engaged, not just passive.
The project is about the women of immigration, of the Italian diaspora, who essentially immigrated to Canada post-World War II. We have coined a phrase where we say, we must listen to the silence of the women, because they never had a real platform to speak.
Okay, last time I actually got a cold sore when I left here, better than COVID.
Oh. Hello all. Before I start, I'd like to extend my thanks to Gloria C. Swain, Karen Carter, Claudia Pensa Brown, and Band Gallery for inviting us here today. I'd also like to acknowledge the lands and the waters that we are speaking from. We are in Dakarando. Thank you to Brooke Rice, a Ginagahaga speaker and colleague, for the Haudenosaunee pronunciation. We are on the territories of the Huron-Wendat Nation, Michi Nation of Ontario, Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, and 6 nations of the Grand River. The lands are governed by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, a nation-to-nation peace agreement between the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Wendat, and allied nations to share this land. We are all treaty people and have a duty to learn about the treaties of the lands that we live and love on. Black liberation and Indigenous sovereignty are interlinked. I know that land acknowledgements are only the first step in cross-community solidarity with Indigenous peoples and must be met with continuous action. I sit with you here in intention to deepen my knowledge of my role and responsibilities as such, and I invite you to do the same if this resonates with you. I'd also like to acknowledge the people of African descent on these lands who arrived here through forced or free migration, either part of the transatlantic slave trade or due to the legacy of colonization and its subsequent ecological and social political turmoil. Thank you, Lillian Allen, Gloria C. Swain, and Janice Reid for being with us today, and for the wonderful scope of work that come together to create the exhibition, Resistance, Resilience, Revolution. Gloria, you are an exhibiting artist in the show, and in the words of the exhibition text that you wrote, Resistance, Resilience, Revolution is, quote, an original multidisciplinary intergenerational project that celebrates fierce sheroes of different generations by exploring their contributions to Toronto's marginalized communities, weaving the narratives of their voices, perspective, grassroots organizing, and leadership, each story unfolds through various art forms. This exhibition focuses on the importance of centering elders for their artwork and for their advocacy work. This exhibition seeks to undo that by speaking about the history of erasure and lack of support for Black women and Black women artists. This is in part why Gloria, you put Say Her Name campaign on the front of the exhibition printed materials. You were reminding us to speak up about the Black women killed by police. Here in Toronto, let's not forget Regis Krasinski-Paquette, Sophia Cook.
Mm-hmm.
Each elder here, Lillian and Gloria, go into community, have done this work for many years, and when they were not invited to the table, they made their own table, and then they invited us to sit at it with them, and this is where we are today. We acknowledge these women as the ones who have come before us, and we take this time to thank each and every one of them for all that they do and all that they are. Healthy communities look like this, multi-generational, where the experiences and knowledges of our elders are passed down to us and transformed into wisdom. We invite you into this space with love and gratitude. We invite you into this space with humility and respect. We invite you into this space as community. To bring in what Gloria has said before, walk like you have all your elders behind you. Walk like you have 3,000 ancestors walking behind you. Here today, we see the healing work that already exists within our community. It is a moment of restoring and remembering the power, the wisdom that is within ourselves and each other, and particularly our elders. I consider this exhibition to be an invitation to walk in the gardens of these artists and share in the bounty of their efforts, their long sown seeds that have since unfurled. And now let us hear from our panelists. Gloria, can you speak about how it came together, what it represents and what it seeks to do, and your hopes for the future?
First, thank you, Raven, for moderating the talk and bringing some questions for the panel. Some great questions for the panel. I would like to acknowledge and thank Myseum for the opportunity to work with these two amazing Black women artists, activists. Thanks to BAN for the use of the venue and amazing support this project received from BAN since day one. Also, thanks to NIA Centre for the Arts for the funding support through the Ontario Arts Council Exhibition Assistance Program. How the project came together. The project came together to celebrate Black women of different generations by exploring their contributions to Toronto's Black communities. I wanted to create an exhibit that shared generational narratives through various art forms that would translate the struggles of aging Black women who have been pushed aside in a youth-obsessed world. It was a way to address my own resistance and resilience as an older Black woman artist and frontline activist navigating spaces in anti-Black environments in the city, where the voice of folks who look like me are missing. It is also a reminder that Black women throughout history have had their voices silent and their work erased or stolen or used without permission. Weaving the narratives of Black women, this project is an attempt to highlight and resist ways that certain groups are often excluded and unacknowledged. I'm reminded of the story of Billie Holiday, who was forced to ride the service elevator because she was not allowed to enter the white club through the front door because she used her voice against lynching of Black folks in her song, Strange Fruit. Of course, this goes further back than Billie Holiday. Black female slaves who held their communities together weren't allowed to speak, but they were allowed to sing and dance for the slave owners. It's very common, even today, for Black women to be invited to perform, but we aren't usually invited to speak. So our histories are erased. We are Black history. In this project, we are 3 Black women who share a collective concern that contributions of Black women artists and activists in the city be acknowledged and celebrated. My resistance is my art. Lillian's resistance is her power of words, and Janice's resistance is in her powerful images of Black women. This project was never intended to separate our voices or have one of us speak for all of us. To sum it up, this project is intended to give voice and space to older Black women and create conversations between older Black women and younger Black women. This project represents an urgency for generational conversations in the Black community. There are 3 important narratives in this project. I'm not here to speak for Lillian or Janice, nor are they here to speak for me. This project is meant to highlight 3 strong voices. The resistance and resilience the project speaks of is the hope of encouraging people who identify as Black women not to give up and let them know that someone has gone through what they are going through now. The only way to do this is to share our stories on the work we have done and the work we continue to do. Black unity and survival is our revolution. For me personally, what are my hopes for the future? My future is today. My only hope is to leave a positive legacy through the canvases I paint and the words that I write. My hope is that Black women will have more funding sources, adequate spaces that are safe and welcoming, and community support where generational conversations can take place between young female generation and the old female generation. So that's it for me.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah, that was really wonderful.
Thank you.
Very cool. I'd like to invite Lillian, Janice, if you'd like to comment on that. Lillian, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, well,
in this conversation?
Yeah, well, thank you, and thank you for your thoughtful approach to the questions, Raven. And, thank Gloria for being on the front line constantly. We lose a lot of our touchstones. They, have been marginalized. They can't survive as artists. And we don't see them anymore. When you look around, there are few Black artists over 60. I really appreciate Gloria and Gloria shouting out on social media. I often use the analogy of roosters talking to each other, cuckoo-cuckoo, cuckoo-cuckoo, cuckoo-cuckoo. So, they know they're there, they know they're related, they wake each other up, they signal each other. So that is the kind of support we have, even if we haven't worked together on a project before. So I so appreciate the opportunity to be part of this project, and the whole idea of the exclusion, marginalization, and erasure of the Black body, Black voice, Black aspirations. So I just want to make a couple points before I throw to you, my dear. Is that usually when Black women do their work, the focus is not on the work. The focus is on identity, or in my case, a lot of people know what I do, but they haven't really read the work. They haven't really looked at the work, right? So they find a way to focus on a genre, right? If it's a Black genre, if it's not a Black genre, so to speak, then there seems to be no discussion or dialogue around it. So out of that focus evolves the funding system that supports the artist. So as a Black artist, you constantly have to be redefining yourself and justifying yourself to get support to survive. So we've been in the trenches, and we've not just done our art, we've joined committees. Most of the changes you've seen at the Arts Council, for example, we led it. We rushed the barricade. We proposed those things. We spent hours and hours working and giving our brain powers and all of that, because we know that there's a generation coming up behind us as there was a generation before us, and we had to make space for them. And it's unfortunate that each generation have to seem to come to be fighting the same issues. That is really, really hard to take. So, you know, we have had, some of us have had our, you know, our day in the sun and our glories and so forth. But it's always been, for people like me and Gloria, it's always been about collectivity. It's always been about the culture. And so I was so delighted to meet the photographer Janice extraordinaire. And it was so, you should have seen when she first came to my place.
Yeah.
It was just so magical. She was just so reverential. She asked everything. I felt honored. I felt respected. And it was glorious.
Yes.
And her work just makes us feel like,
Yeah.
you know, yes,
Yeah.
yes, our tradition is carrying on.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're proud of you.
That's my baby. So,
Aw.
yes. Yeah. We love you.
Aw.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored. You're honored of me taking a photograph. I'm just honored to be in you guys' presence, to be quite honest with you. I met Gloria for her show here at Band a couple years back. And I remember just speaking with her, and you just touched on it, Lillian, about like so many questions that I had. Like I was just talking to Gloria, I'm like, why is this still happening? Why is this going on? And we just were going back and forth. And, you know, she was telling me her experiences and I guess about the gatekeeping that was happening in the art industry, especially in Toronto. Yeah, she was just telling me her experiences over the years. I felt very honored of being able to even take Lillian's portrait. She was really gracious and very kind to me, even just saying those beautiful words about me. I don't know. I think that the way that they have opened the door for me and provided me with such grace and just giving me words of encouragement about my work, I feel like I just scratched the surface with my work, and they're like, dive in, don't be scared. You know, Lillian gave me great words of encouragement with my work, and I'm forever grateful for that exchange and her even acknowledging me in that sense, right? It gave me great confidence. So once again, thank you so much for having me.
I'm gonna go ahead and ask you, Lillian, would you be able to reflect on your experience in creating the video work that we see in the exhibition? You created it in 1989.
Yeah.
What doors weren't open that now are for people like Janice?
Yeah. Well, yeah, 1989. I mean, you look at that work on natural causes, supported by the National Film Board. At the time, of course, I was younger. And the National Film Board was just opening up. They developed a Studio D for women, and then the amazing Rena Fraticelli got the job, and she decided that women came in different sizes, colors, shapes, and she made a special effort to include Black women and women of color, BIPOC women and women of color. And that presented me an opportunity to do my work in the video film format. But before that, I wouldn't even know how do you know where to go? I mean, you land in a city, how do you know the networks? There's nothing that is telling you that anything is there. It's like you land at somebody's house, they know you're coming, and then you say, okay, where am I going to sleep? Where are the towels? And they're like, nobody prepared for us. So we have to come and figure out, where's the bed? Where's the towel? Where's the bathroom? So on the level of, you know, the art, that's what we've been doing, right? So building networks and friendships, we started to figure it out a little bit. So we just couldn't do our art, because if we did our art, nobody would notice us. We had to get in there, be doing committee work, be as I say, opening up, you know, acting, you know, people are expecting us to solve problems, solve racism like we created it. We black people can't solve racism. We didn't create it. If you're competent,
Right.
you know, and a plane breaks down, they call you because they think you can fix the airplane. It was crazy.
Yes.
What you had to get into just to network and survive, right? But it was that we were rooted in our communities. We had our friendships, and we dialogued around our histories, and we knew there was a future, and we knew we had a long past, and you know, that's how we basically did it in the broad sense. What do you say about that, Gloria?
Oh, I agree with you completely. Yeah. And
Yeah.
even today, I think today there's more opportunity for black women, but we
Yeah.
still the younger black women. But for someone like us, we're still climbing that mountain. But to see like the young black women today who are coming together, creating their own community, doing their own work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's like Jen is like, I'm so proud to see them do
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
support them 110%.
Yeah. Yeah, I curated a show with
Or
I didn't curate it, but I organized for somebody like Bosasia Bailey. I don't know if you know her. Grace Chana.
oh,
Of
yeah.
about like 13 black women artists or
Yeah.
black artists for Mayworks once. And where are they today? You know, there were not opportunities for them.
Well, right here.
Yeah, well, there you are.
Yeah,
But
well,
you
right.
know,
It's just
there are few
two
of us who
Yeah.
could basically and I, you know, I did it because I did some popular culture with what I do. I was doing it before it came into vogue, and then I teach. I mean, do I have time to write or yeah. So yeah, and we're still doing it, and it's not good that we still have to be fighting. It isn't good. We have to call the allies to the table, or they need to get to their table, and you know, give up some stuff, do more, and
it's also up to like the elder black women artists and activists to lift up and create spaces for younger artists, black women artists and activists. Because even though there are like it is better, there's still more work to be done as far as including young black women in the art world and activism, hearing them speak. So yeah.
This is a general question to all of you. So earlier we heard, Gloria, you were kind of hopes and dreams for the future. I wanted to extend that question to all of you. So what are your hopes for the future, hopes for yourselves, for your art career, for the larger community, and what supports do you need to see them through in a sustainable way? So maybe we'll start with you, Janice.
Yeah. Personally, for myself, I wish that like the gatekeeping would stop. Basically, I wish that funding will be like opportunities could just be apparent for everybody. That it's not designated for one specific type of group of people, and that like we can create work how we want to create it. It doesn't have to like work on our identity is great about our culture. It's us archiving ourselves and telling our stories, our ancestor stories, and our present day story. But at the same time, I feel like us as individuals, we're bigger than that, bigger of those stories. I feel like sometimes it's like they want the trauma story. They want the same exact thread, and you are placed in a box and you are relived. Your trauma is relived for their gain. and for their platforms and their institutions, you know? Like, yeah, let's give this, like, you know, give this person money to do this type of work, right? I just would like us in the future to be more free in a sense. If I want to take on a project of I'm doing abstract photography, and it doesn't have to be a portrait of a Black woman, then hopefully I'll get funding for that I can explore my practice more and explore for myself and not within the landscape that they're allowing me to, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's what I really hope for.
Thank you, Janice. Lillian?
I hope for a revolution. That's it. That's it. Or maybe we can call it an inversion. But yeah, you know, I just think the society loses so much when it misses the soul and the creativity that a wide variety of folks can bring to it, you know, for such rich cultures and rich history. And it's just to me it's so sad. So, you know, I just wish that the arts could be taken a lot more seriously. And even as we talk about funding, I mean, you know, most of the time it's what people to pay people's visa to pay off your visa. People can't actually, you know, make a living or live well on it. The society needs to look at art like they look at medicine. And that's the kind of support it needs, and the infrastructure. And each community should have its infrastructure. When I say community, I mean all kinds of community, cultural communities, ethnic communities, communities of interest, communities around sexuality, sexual diversity, and all of that. So that needs to be supported. And yeah, we just need to keep that support going so that we can have, you know, an artist who can be long in this society, and that there's some kind of genealogy, and that they can share their craft and train other people. Most BIPOC people in my days didn't go to art school. I'm seeing more and more. I teach at OCAD. But in the early days, people trained themselves or trained each other, right? So that in itself to me is an institution. And there should be support for that, right? So those kind of things. It's not one size fits all, or because somebody had an idea that these are 1, 2, 3 steps, you need to fit into that. No, come and see what we're doing, what's successful, and say, wow, you know, let's look at divvy up the taxpayers your own tax money and support what you're doing. I think it would be great for everybody. It'd be great for the culture.
Right. Can I add to that?
Please.
Okay.
Please, Gloria.
As an untrained artist
Wow.
who have been doing the work for 30 years,
Yeah.
my hope for my art career is like, I believe that I've already created enough unseen work. At this stage in my career, I'm pretty much exhausted. For me, art is therapeutic, it's healing, and it's a form of self-expression. I Googled older Black abstract woman artists in Toronto. I showed up. And I'm like, I cannot be the only older Black abstract woman artist in Toronto. And this right here, I wrote, it says, the last 3 years as I've grown older and wiser, finding spaces to show my work has been challenging. When something you love to do causes anxiety and stress, it's time to step back. So I'm thinking a lot of older Black women artists have done that. It's like I have stepped back from like trying to find funding, trying to find space to show my work. I continue to create the work, but I don't waste that much energy trying to show it, because there's not a platform for someone who looks like me. And going into most of these art spaces, you don't see anyone who looks like me in these art spaces. And when you do see Black artists, they're mostly young Black men. So where does that leave young Black women? So we're still fighting a losing battle. Finding support within art spaces in the art community for someone who looks like us has taken more from me than I've received. And I see this pattern in so many older Black women and activists who have given up their craft and they moved away. We need more spaces and opportunities like Black Artists Network. It's like when I came here, I was treated with so much respect. I was treated as an artist. And most of the other art spaces is like, oh, I'm an abstract artist. Oh, but do you do Black art? I'm a Black woman. I am an artist. This is my art. Yo, this is Black art. So how do you? So it's like they try to fit you in a little box, like you were saying, right? Because I don't do Black figurative drawings or paintings, I'm not considered at the height of the other artists in the community, right? So there's no place for me. But it doesn't stop me from creating, because I'm gonna do my thing. So okay.
Thank you, Gloria. I have a question for you, Janice. So you you touched on it a little bit earlier, but I would love to hear more about your experience coming into these artists' studios, their homes, and taking a portrait of them, and also how it impacts you as an artist. Has this kind of opportunity happened to you before, where you were able to be in kind of contact or in like a orbit with other artists, you know, other Black artists, other Black women artists, and you know, just your reflections on the whole process?
Well, it's my first opportunity to ever show with like other Black women. So once again, I'm grateful for that opportunity. What I've like I said, I feel really honored to be able to archive them in this moment in time for them. When I was in their living spaces, I thought it was great that, especially with Gloria, because she has physical paintings that she's able to live with her art, that she's able to wake up in the middle of the night and work with her art. And with her being able to, both of them are very they're really present with themselves. I say, like with Lillian, when I was taking her portrait, she was performing, and I was like, I thought it was a treat. I thought it was so cool. And I'm kind of back, like laid back. I'm kind of a little bit timid. Some people will say I'm not, but I feel like I am. And to see that she was, of course, she's a dub poet, but she's like, I'm going to show you what I got. I'm going to show you who I am. And she wasn't shy or anything like that. And I think that's one of the lessons that I've taken away with her specifically. And with Gloria, with her self-portraits, of having herself painted in abstract and like in her physical form of drawings, it's like, you know, she's not hiding away from herself. She is, you know, telling her story, and no one could tell it for her. So I thought, like, with both of them was very inspirational, what I could take away from my practice, because I feel like I don't put myself, or I'm shying away from myself, and I see them just living in the truth, creating the work. Like, I read your book, Lillian, and just like how Lillian is, like, as an artist, she's definitely vocal, but Lillian wants to be with you when you're thinking all to yourself, right? You want to turn the pages and Lillian's right there with you, right? So it's her way of her practice of speaking to you and speaking to her readers and her audiences. I just, really dissect and took a look of how they both approach their work and how they want to be seen.
That's wonderful. What a beautiful reflection. It's really wonderful to see one artist reflecting on the practices of other artists and how different mediums also speak to you. I have another general question for you all.
Mm-hmm.
This question is, what does true community look like to you? And so, Gloria,
Lillian can take it.
Lillian, would you like to start?
Gloria, you give me that. What a healthy community looks like, or
we can go with that. Yeah, the question I asked is, what does true community look like to you? But healthy community also is part of that, of course.
I mean, in the broadest sense, the best idea since creation is diversity, in my opinion, right? And diversity comes from specificity, right? So in my communities, I have many communities, right? I want to be able to get to the richness. It's the furthest thing from hegemony or homogenization, right? You want to see everything in their specificness, right? And you want that to be as diverse as possible. So you're looking for, people with different attitudes, people with different ways of being. I mean, one of the main things in the world is to be different every day. If you're going to be the same every day, then that's just a squandering of your humanness. You want to be different every day. You want to meet different people. When somebody comes to my class and they say, my pronoun is they, I feel honored that I get to support and help that person stand into who they want to be, right? So I'm constantly looking for an expansion. The thing that fears me the most is the world closing down, right? I just want to know what's coming next. Who is among me? What are you doing? How can life be more beautiful? How can my mind change, and how can I be challenged to be more human? When we talk about art, it's about seeking meaning. It's meaning making. Meaning is about being more human. That's what we actually mean, right? So we use the word, we're seeking meaning, but we're seeking to be more human, because what we're trying to find out is who we are and what we are in this great constellation. Who's this 2 legs, 2 arms person? Who's this? Been here a few decades. Like, how do we become more human? We are, so to me, people are supported. There's a soft place to land. And I'm not talking about just softness. We need rigor. We need to butt our heads sometimes. We just need to be caring and compassionate. My pedagogy, no matter how tough it seems like in my work, is a pedagogy of care and unity. And that's what I think should underpin my communities.
Wow, amazing. Who we are, what we stand for, what our values are, but always through support, love, kindness, and rigor. That's a good one. Gloria?
Stuff down, but first I want to say, for me, it's like being known as someone who's accessible. If you have a problem, you can come to me. Any community that I go into is like Auntie Gloria. So that just warms my heart, knowing that people trust me knowing that they know that they can talk to me and know that I'm there and I will try to do what I can to help them. But what I did put is true community would be respecting, protecting, and taking care of our Black elders, number one. It is folks working together to help each other grow and live healthy lives. It is removing the stigma of mental health in our community. It's like Black mental health is a big thing in the Black community because people are afraid to say, I'm afraid to say I'm depressed because you might use that against me. So there's a long history in the Black community with that. And I think that's something that we need to address. A quick story, I was talking to someone about homelessness because I advocate for homelessness in the city. And they're like, well, we don't see a lot of Black men who are homeless. I'm like, they're in jail because we don't acknowledge a mental illness as a Black man. They would be in jail because they don't see Black people as having mental health issues. Community is supporting Black grandmothers, mothers, and aunties who have spent most of their lives taking care of families and community. It is time to take care of them. True community is when Black community leaders and artists who have reached a certain level in their profession reach out and uplift the next generation of community leaders and artists. If I've already done the work, then Janice shouldn't have to repeat it. Okay, it's up to me as an elder, senior, to lift her up, to show her the way. It's like when I move up, Janet moves up. That's what true community is like for me. It's like, it's not one, it's all of us. It's not me, it's us. So.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the elders, right? And we are the sage. And yeah, go and I have this discussion all the time that the society, it's another level of marginalization, even within our own societies, in the diaspora, right? And that built into our organizations, we don't consider what the sage people, elders, will need when we program or invite them, just simple things, right? And that's something that we need to put on the table if we want more elders around us. And when we have events, where are they? There should be a commitment on the part of every organization that we have some elders on our list, even if it's a number. When we have an event, we're gonna go pick them up or send an Uber for them and bring them here, take them back, make sure they have their snacks. Because we all are gonna get there, right? There was a time when we used to travel and somebody pull out a couch or, and you sleep wherever and you whatever, those days are gone, right? We have to be taken care of. And, and our own tempo and pace and a lot of the nitty-gritty work that we have to do. I have to say, we have not mentored, or the system haven't provided the kind of administrative support that somebody like Gloria and myself would need for another, couple of decades of producing really excellent work, because we're at the top of our game. But, we have to spend so much time doing I get up at, at 8:30 I'm on the computer, and then 6:30 I'm getting up, and what am I doing? Responding to emails, filling out forms. So we need to sit down as a community and think about those things and see how we can change some of those things.
But just to add to that, I'm on the Senior Pride Committee, right? And that's exactly what we do. It's like all seniors, and we take care of each other. Yeah, that's the community. We need that in all communities. Like for Pride, we're working on getting buses to go pick up the seniors. I'm doing art with the seniors, but we need that in all communities.
We need that in all communities.
Sorry, Jenny, go ahead.
Definitely of what, just to touch on, what you guys were saying, and what true community looks like to me. More like a feeling, like love and like harmony. I know that when I started out wanting to do art, I came here to band as a volunteer, and I just wanted to be around Black people and art. So I was searching for community, and I think that most definitely I found it. So like the symbolization of like seeing the house is like, it's like coming home, right? I've met friends here, I've met collaborators here, I've met people who I've always admired their art, and yeah, so that's what I feel like the truth of it is like a meeting ground, and it's not like you have to know them from previously before. You don't have to make like an actual network, but like coming into groups and coming into their path, and just people being open and speaking and talking to you, talking about life, talking about art. That's what really it means to me. And like also just to touch base on what Gloria and Lillian said, like having respect for your elders, respecting, not like, okay, allowing them to speak or just like listen to them, but like really listen to them, listen to about their life experience. How can you offer them? I hopefully like I definitely learned from them, but hopefully they learned from me too. Not like, you know, as a young person or anything like that, but just who I am as a person, as an individual, that they've taken something away from me in the time and the energy that we have exchanged and we spent with each other. But yeah, that's about it really for me. I don't know. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on when it comes to community?
I just see community. For me, community is family.
Yeah.
Family is not blood.
Like
family is how we take care of each other. So for me, that's community. I grew up in a small community where if you didn't have food and I had food, you had food.
Yeah.
If you needed something and I had it, you got it.
Yeah.
So for me, community is like embracing each other and each other, not judging people.
No, not judging people. You don't need to know them from way back when.
Yeah, and being humble and and being kind is like, and understanding that people go through things. So maybe one day you don't want to talk. It's not for me to keep pushing you.
Yeah.
It's like step back and let you know that I'm here when you're ready.
Yeah.
So community is like respect. Very respectful. It's family. It's, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I heard was reciprocity, support, authenticity, grace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, beautiful. This is the last question I have. This is why are intergenerational spaces so essential? So an intergenerational space just like this, or just like the exhibition that you created, Gloria, why are they so essential?
You want to take it? You want me to take it? Because there is a generation of separation. It's like you hardly ever see like young people with older people. I love young people. I love old people, but you never see them together. It's like when I'm around young people, it's like I'm basically the only person there, you know, the older person there. And I think because I take the initiative to go out, but a lot of people my age, they don't go out. So people like me, it's like I love to dance, and and everybody doesn't dance. So I put okay. Generational spaces are the closest things that some of us have as to family. You know, we need those spaces for people to go to, find support, to heal. You know, what did I put? Generational spaces give the Black community opportunities to heal intergenerational trauma and break generational poverty. The only way we can do that is together. And to do it together, we need spaces together to do that. And I don't even know of any generational spaces in Toronto right now where it's like most of the work that I do with younger artists, like I'm invited as an elder to show up and be in a portrait, but I'm not invited to show my work because my work is still not considered Black enough, Black art, because it's not figurative art. Because when you think of abstract art, you think of a white man. Do I look like a white man? Hello. I'm black, black, black. So yeah, I think we need more spaces, generational spaces, especially Black generational spaces.
Yeah.
So,
Lillian?
You know, I went to Germany just before the pandemic, the year before, and people were bringing their young children to see me. And they say they were bringing them because they wanted them to see what it was to grow old. They didn't, in the particular place where I was, they didn't have enough older Black women or older Black folks. And they just lingered, and you know, it was so beautiful, right? Because people are scared of, if you don't understand, especially if you're living in a place like Germany and you're a Black person, you know, some people mixed but still Black, and you don't know what it is like, what the possibilities are for you when you get older. It's scary. So just to be able to see me and talk with me, it was just beautiful. And they told me flat out, we wanted the kids to see that, you know, this is a possibility of how you could grow old, you know. Yeah. So the intergenerational space to me is so key. Anything that we've done in terms of excellence, even in our society, if you look at sports, just look at those, you know, look at the male sports. They make positions for those older guys, and they're consulting. You see them; they don't throw them away. No, they're there. And the thing too is that it's a society that leads towards fragmentation. Everything is fragmented, right? And how to become whole again is to counter that fragmentation, get more connected. And I think that there's so much that can be passed down. There's so much strength in being rooted. There's so much strength in knowing who you are and where you come from, that you have a lineage, a genealogy, that you have a heritage, that will just make you a more autonomous and just a more centered, stronger person in the world, and somebody who can create that for yourself and for the next generation to come. I think, you know, in these parts especially, where we're mostly immigrants, so to speak, or you know, our parents are. And so we're away from the family structures, the main communities, the network of churches and cousins in the country and auntie down the road and so forth, that we need these to build alternative ways in our own community, so that we have that connection. So we're fully human again, that we know that that's who we are. And that's who we will become. Yeah.
Thank you, Lillian. Janice, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. I'm just thinking of like where normally you'll see, or you know, you'll be with older the older generation, and usually that happens within the home, with your family, either your great grandmother, your grandmother, and wider netting is like the community, like you mentioned, like the auntie down the road. And I thought it was really wild that, you know, people out in Germany came to see you because they wanted to see an older Black woman, right? Because they didn't have that within their own vicinity. So here's Lillian traveling all the way from Canada, and they came to see her. No, definitely probably came to see and listen to you speak first and foremost, but just to witness you and be in your presence. I thought that was really wild. I think also it's just like with our society, I feel like with older people, with the older generation, it's like we don't allow them themselves anymore. It's like, you're old, you can't dance, you can't do the things that you once loved that brought life into you. You're not allowed. And it's like all these rules and regulations, and you know, I can't speak for you guys, obviously, but I can only imagine that it's not allowing you to live a full life of what you once led, right? So I feel that in a sense, you have to continue being yourself when you get older, right? You can't shy away. If you once loved cooking, please continue to cook. Lead a cooking class or join a cooking class that people can meet and talk to you and be around you. I think that, like, you know, it's when we're in certain, when older people are probably in a certain spaces, like, you know, I know sometimes I feel like, what am I doing here? You know, I know for sure because of society has put so much restrictions on them being, that they can't just be themselves. They're probably like, what am I doing here? I'm not this enough. And it's just like, you're enough at any point of your life, any stage of your life. Like I talked about previously before, I met Gloria here. I met other older artists here. And it's always a pleasure. I feel like this space is an intergenerational space. I think anything that you have interest in is just art that led me here to meet different generations and being with Lillian and being with Gloria. But like, hopefully with, even if it's a sport that I love basketball, and or if, you know, or if I love cooking, that I'll be able to meet. Well, I don't love cooking. I cook, but it's not like I'm Gloria Childs and I'm here, you know, picking up recipes. But if I end up loving cooking, that I'm able to meet people of the older generation there as well. Okay.
Thank you, Janice.
When I came, band is a place where they see your art. They appreciate your art. They don't look, oh, you got gray hair. They don't see that. They see your art. They see what you create. And as far as being in spaces where you don't feel comfortable, in the beginning, I felt like that because I love to dance. I love comedy. And I'm always the oldest person in that space. And I always get like, I get the side eye, or I get comments, oh, how old are you again? You don't act your age, you know, like, so it's like, to me, that's something that I'm proud of my age. I'm 65, everybody, 66 next month, what? So it's like, I'm proud of my age. And it took me a while to just build up my character, just go where I wanted to go, do what I want to do, because I don't have to answer to anyone. So you have to, like, it's like, I love what I do. I love me, and I'm going to do it as long as I'm able to do it. And it takes a lot to get to that point. I wish I had like other people my age to do it with. But it's like, I think a lot of people, they're like, oh, they've just given up. It's like the fight is over. So, and that's a shame, because there's so many brilliant older people in the community that even I would love to meet. And the story. Yeah, it's like, I was, before COVID, I was trying to organize a collective of older Black women artists. I found one. Her name was, well, she's an activist in Regent Park. She started a peace garden. Her name was Joyce Douglas. She started the peace garden in 2001 when her son was murdered, right? So the peace garden was, because she loved the garden, so she created a garden. Anytime a young Black person was killed, she would like plant flower. So she started the garden, right? And I met her, but I lost contact. And I would love to find like other older women to create that collective.
Yeah.
So we got to work on that, Lillian.
Maybe Ben should have a sage evening once a week or once every 2 weeks or once.
I tried to do that, but the thing is, a lot of older Black women, artists, actors, whatever, they don't come out in the community because they've been like pushed down so far.
Yeah.
See, me, I don't allow anyone to push me down because I'm up here. So yeah, it's like they give up.
Yeah, giving up.
Like even with my art, it's like I'm not giving up my art. I'm just giving up trying to show my art. Because that's energy that I can put somewhere else.
And my art is me. Yeah.
Well, I'm happy that you didn't give up because this exhibition is wonderful and you're showing your art here. There's many, many paintings that you've shown, and there's one that's geared towards accessibility. So for visually impaired people, that's touchable. So you know, I encourage you and I support you.
That's another issue that a lot of creative spaces in Toronto don't address. Accessibility. It's like they hang their artwork too high, that you can't touch it, and they don't take into consideration that people with disabilities, they love art too. They create art. So I like to create art for everybody. There's no limit. If you like art, come see me.
Maybe. So we do have one more round of questions. It's actually coming from people who are watching. So this is live, and so people who are watching can send in their questions to our panelists. But right before I go into that, I'm so sorry, Lily.
No, people are watching. Hi, over there.
Yes, I have a question for your
I got one point I want to make.
But sorry?
Got one point I want to make.
Yes, of course.
Oh, and that is, and I don't know if that's for you, Gloria, but for about 2 decades, I was the youngest person in the room. And now...
But we're still in the room.
We're still in the room. And look at you. You're going to be up here in a while. Right? And it's really important to make those connections and those links and to be conscious what you're creating in the future. Okay? We had nobody before us in any big way to show us, and we are showing you now, right? You need to still be present in the environment, and you need to start creating that now so that you're not pushed out and you don't get too tired or whatever. So that's the kind of stuff you have to start to work on now. And that's community.
I love it.
You find that community because the people that I used to hang out with back in the 70s, the 60s, whatever, they're gone. It's like they've given up, they passed away, they moved on.
I know.
So it's just me, and I met Lillian, so it's us. And our baby girl, so go ahead.
The rebels. All right.
Okay, so before I get to the question, I just wanted to, because you had something, and I think it's very important to highlight that you are committed to accessibility, and that runs through how you you showcase the artwork. And so I just want to quickly say, or give you the space to say what what kind of strategies you use to make sure that accessibility ran through the whole exhibition, and then we can go to the last question.
I made sure that there was a accessible entrance, which is over here where mobile devices can come into the space. I hung the work lower than normal, so if someone's in a wheelchair or on a mobile device, they don't have to like stretch to look at. They can just look straight. The QR codes are accessible from lower or higher. There's one piece that I especially created touchable designs on, so people can, if they have like vision impairment, they can touch, they can feel the designs. Lillian's film is closed caption, so if someone can't hear it, they can read it. So I think it's important to make spaces accessible.
I love it. Amazing. So this is the question that we have from the audience, so I'll read it here. Somebody says, thank you for this discussion. I appreciate Gloria's point about making abstract art and Lillian's about art as medicine. I would love to hear each artist speak about their work and their inspiration. So is it okay?
Janice has a spoken.
All right,
I
Janice.
have spoken.
Yeah.
Okay, about my practice. Well, I feel like with the work that I've done and the direction where I'm heading with my work is like I like educating and telling stories with my work. Like Real Love was a story, and centered around my culture with myself. That was built on the relationship with me and the muse, Justine, and even like my series that I'm going to be doing, showing in Contact about like next month with Fanny Eaton and talking about the pre-Raphaelite Jamaican model. A lot of people don't know about her and about the work like that she's in a lot of classic paintings, right? That she's hidden. Yeah, so I like storytelling with my photography now. I've definitely got a lot of great feedback when I'm speaking about my work, and just like, you know, people like, I didn't know that. So even though I use fashion as a tool, I'm using it as like a language. I'm creating a brand new visual language through fashion. I find that really interesting. I know that it with a lot of new photographers that are coming up, a lot of people are telling stories through photography, through their identity, but it was never dealt with this way, obviously, because we were never looked at as photographers or people who, I guess, are able to create art. So now that we're telling our stories, we're telling multiple different stories that people have never heard before, not because they're not important, but they weren't documented. So it's like I'm also doing a job of the researcher, and I'm like, wow, this is really interesting to me. How would it look like? How would it be visually? Like the Fanny Eaton story that I did, like I did the replication of Head of the Mulatto Woman, and it's like dead on from the painting. And the model looks just like Fanny, right? So yeah, I feel that with my work, with the direction that I'm going in, it's just I don't know. I feel like I'm just more into the process of just like, this is what I like to do. This is what I want to create at this time. This is the story that I want to tell. This is what interests me most importantly. I know that I not to sound like I don't make art for other people, not like that, but I'm like, I was like, I never heard of this before. I never seen this before. I want to do like a visual replication. Like I want to educate people. Like a lot of times when I'm like on my laptop researching certain things, I come down to my family. I'm like, this is what I learned today. And I just spew it out at them. And they're like, Janice, I never heard of that before. Like, how did you know that? How did you learn that? So I think that what really like lights me up, that I'm doing that with my work now. That's like, I never heard of her. Let me do research. Let me learn. And I think with Black people, mostly within my community, that excites me that I left them with something, a piece of knowledge that they never knew. And I think that is like, is great. It's just like, I want them to walk away and like, I want to learn more about this. I want to, it gets their wheels turning and you see them thinking and you're like, I never heard of this in my life. How come I never heard about it? And you're like, you know why you never heard about it? Because they don't want you to know. But I'm here to tell you that this is what's happening, right? I think that a lot of times we feel that like in the past, even the present, like there's no room for us, and like, but there is room for us. We've been here, right? So how could there not be room for us, right? Even if there's not a room, just like what learning from Gloria and being in her presence of like, well, I'm going to kick down the door and do my own thing. You know, Lillian's like, well, I'm going to create space, right? And I'm making room. And just them doing their practice and living in their truth and their work has provided, is going to lead, just because they're doing it means like I could do it too, and I can work, and you know, that I can be an artist too. So yeah, that's like really what I'm really passionate about with my work right now.
Thank you so much for sharing. That was wonderful. Lillian.
Oh, you want to know my
Your
practice and my inspiration? Yeah. Well, you know, the thing with art is sometimes you gotta, you know, buy things and paints. I'm sorry for the visual artist, right? And all those people have to put out all that amount of money just so they can do their work. Language is free. And I grew up in a culture where people chat. They talk, some talk foolishness, tell stories. Um, you know, my grandmother, I grew up with my grandmother, lots of cousins, in a place where it was just rich with culture and language. It was musical, the cadence, the Jamaican language, you chat up, you feel good, and you know, then I go to a formal school, a British school, and then that kind of stuff is rubbed out of you. And it's, you know, they're telling you it is inferior, it's not good, and so on. So that was that just incensed me. From I was little, I knew it wasn't right. I knew it was an attack on my family and my grandmother, who I loved very much, and the people who I grew up with. And I decided that I would honor them and honor that language. So, you know, being a creative person and all that, I started working in the Jamaican vernacular language. And managed to be part of, you know, a group of people who created a whole new form, opened up space in the world, you know, the form of dub poetry. You know, from the tradition of a lot of other people, African oral tradition, Louise Bennett, Claude McKay, you know, just a whole bunch of other people, Marley, you know, Prince Buster, just people talking around and expressing their hearts and souls. Because when I read the traditional works of English poets and Irish poets and so on, I saw what they were doing for their communities. I think I would like to do that for my community too, right? So for sure, if you hear my work, the rhythm and the heave and the sway of the beat, eat the rumblings and the tumblings down. Or if you hear rub-a-dub sound, rub-a-dub style in a region, park man a dub it in a dance in a region, park all out. You don't even have to know what I'm saying, but you know that it's something that's supporting you, that's something that is celebrating you, right? As opposed to what we encounter on the news and in the media, right? So I wanted to take my art in that direction and to validate my culture and my people and their aspirations, because my grandmother and my family and extended family gave me so much, and so much that grounded me and was so beautiful in the world, that I chose that than becoming you know, a kind of washed out, generalized kind of person, right? So I live that in my skin and in what I do, and that's my art.
This is super caveat and it's a tangent, but I just wanted to say, when I'm in this space, I hear ooh ah all the time, and everyone matters except in winter. Like the things that like follow you after seeing the video work is the, of course, the way that you help us think around and through difficult conversations, but then also the melodic component. So thank you so much for performing for us. Gloria.
My inspiration? Yes. Whoa, I've always used art as a way to deal with a lot of pain. I grew up in poverty, and the way that I dealt with a lot of trauma and pain was by creating, by drawing, by just looking in the mirror, pretending that I was talking. I had invisible friends, seriously. So art started out as a way for me to heal and to deal with a lot of pain that during my time in the 50s, there was no, you couldn't talk about what you was going through because it was family privacy. It was, you know, you keep it in the family. You don't go outside the family and talk about what's happening to you. So art was always my way of dealing with a lot of stuff. And as I grew up, got older, I kept doing art. Anytime something was going wrong in my life, art saved me from doing a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have, I would have done if I didn't have a creative outlet.
Right.
And just watching a lot of young Black women going through what I went through and not hearing from older women who already went through it, that you can go through it and you can survive. So my inspiration is telling my story through my art. And with abstract art, there's no figurative image there. You get to look at it and you get to see what you see. You're not going to see what I saw when I was painting it. And that's the glamour of abstract art. You get to see what you see, what attracts. Someone said, well, where's the vocal point? I'm like, the vocal point is what brings you into the painting.
Yeah.
And I don't really like to title my work because I do layered work, which represents a lot of layered issues that not only I go through, but other women, Black women, other women they also go through, and they don't know how to layer it. So you see like a lot of my work, you see like a lot of paint on top of paint. So people say, well, why is layered? Because sometimes we have to, there are some things we can talk about, some things we can't talk about, some things we don't want to talk about. So we fix ourselves up pretty and we move on. But some of my work is like, sometimes I go back and work on pieces that I've already started because it's not done. So for my inspiration is like sharing my story and inspiring other women to speak, to tell their story. Don't allow anyone else to tell it, but tell it when you're ready to tell it. It took me a long time to be able to stand up and talk about childhood trauma, childhood pain. It takes a lot out of you, but I've been doing it for so long, and I see that my words and my work is helping other people heal.
Yeah.
So for me, that's my inspiration.
Yeah.
We have one more question from the audience. How wonderful is that? We have an engaged audience. So it says, hi, Auntie Gloria and Lillian. It's Malika. So much love for this exhibit and this talk. I would like to know how joy, ease, rest threads into your resistance, resilience, and revolution.
What was the word?
So there are 3 words: joy, ease, and rest thread into the exhibition.
Well, for me, they all go together. It's like I enjoy what I do. For me, there is no rest, especially when I'm in my studio. It was joy, ease. What was it?
Joy, ease, and rest.
And rest.
So you said rest. There's joy, and then there's ease.
Yeah.
Ease. At my age, there is no ease because there's a lot that I want to do before I can't do it. And I think when I work, it's like I think I overwork because I don't know if there's a tomorrow. So it's like put a lot of my work into the projects that I do today. So for me, my thing is it's about the legacy that I want to leave behind. I don't want to like go and have someone else tell my story. So I don't have time to rest. And there is joy in the work that I do. Ease, I'm working on that. So.
Thank you. Those were our questions. I will maybe see if the panelists want to add a couple final words. Other than that.
Well, to the upcoming artists and activists, stand your ground. Do not allow anyone to stop you from speaking, to take away your words. And do what you love to do with passion. Don't do it just for the money. Do it because it's inside of you. Money's good, don't get me wrong, but love what you do. So, that's it.
Thank you, Gloria.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think one of the things with our great artists or great Black artists, and we can especially see them in the music business because that's where they've allowed them to be, is that they give everything to the art. They give this universe so much soul. They've rescued American culture, right? And didn't take enough for themselves. So I say that very early on, people, self-care is important and taking a lot for yourself. And Gloria, I say money. Money.
What you doing? Because
Yeah, you balance it, I say. You know, but I'm telling those young people, balance it, right?
They don't want to get paid.
But yeah, we did for a long time run away from money.
Yeah.
We would go to these consultation meetings, and you know, you had to carry your lunch because they had some little piece of cheese and some little green thing with a little toothpick in it, you know, and stuff like that. You're there for 3-4 hours giving out your soul.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you hear somebody say, who should I send the invoice to? And you say, invoice? And they're like, yeah, I've consulted, you know, for 3 hours. We are giving it for free.
Yeah.
We have to learn that our time, our labor, is worth.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm saying, I get what you're saying, but I'm saying, don't be afraid of money. Money.
Local corporations get paid. But
Yeah.
I'm talking when I'm working in the community with, say, low-income Black youth who can't afford to pay me, I don't mind giving them my all.
Totally.
But when it's like a corporation who got bucks behind them, oh yeah, I'll get paid.
Totally. And we should look to accumulate money. In this society, we live in a capitalist world. You have to live in a nice place. You have to get around. I say buy property, you know, whatever you can do. I think that should be factored in early. Right. That's how I mentor young people. Get rich. It's the best revenge.
Take care of your elders. Get rich, make some money, and take care of your elders.
That's what I say. And it's not that hard.
No.
But we haven't focused on it.
No.
Why is that?
See, we didn't have that. We didn't have the opportunity that young people have today.
Yeah, we did.
And so, like, the opportunities out there for your people your age, it's like it's out there. Go get it.
Yeah.
But you need like that community to 3 people can get in the door quicker than one person. I've learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
So,
Janice, any last words?
Just thanks. Just giving thanks, actually. Just thank you for having me as a guest here, allowing me to be here and listen to you guys. Like, you guys definitely heard some great things, and I received some great things just listening to Gloria and Lillian. So, yeah, that's it. Like, you know, even that last bit of like, don't be afraid of money. I'm like, it's true. You know, like, don't be afraid of money.
Auntie Lillian says, get rich.
Get
right.
Rich. No, 50 cents out of that.
And come pick me up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Take me to Swiss Chalet.
Exactly.
Auntie need to eat.
Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you. And I'd like to also thank the AV team behind the scenes. And Sarah, thank you so much for helping us out with Myseum and all that. That's it from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I can eat coffee now.